Hello, everyone. Welcome to the start of my weekly live streams where I am going to be discussing game news and just chatting with you guys. I kind of wanted to start a new thing where I get to talk to you guys get to talk to me, and we get to go over game stuff. Is what I like to do, and I'm sure it's what most of you guys like to do. So I wanted to start this thing out. Solomon, I see you in the chats already. Hey, how are you doing? But I do want to know what are you guys playing right now? I'm playing Call of Duty campaign, which is actually surprisingly really good right now. I'm surprised because I haven't played the last Call of Duty campaign. I haven't played them for a while, to be honest, but this one is actually surprising me with how much I'm actually getting into it. I'm also playing Spider-Man 2. I know it's took me way too long to start that game, but yeah, if you guys want to drop it in the chat whenever you would like. But the first thing that I would like to talk about today is the PlayStation Pro that recently came out, and it's actually not doing that hot. So the PS5 Pro came out, and it came out for $700, which was already not really too good for a lot of people. And I did cover this a lot on my channel, a few months ago, and I don't know. The main thing was the price for what you're getting, because you do get, some graphics updates and stuff like that. But it's is it really worth $700? You guys would have to let me know in the chat. Matt, you said the last campaign was MW3, and it was absolutely trash. Well, I'm glad I didn't waste my time playing it then. Yeah, usually I like to hop right on the multiplayer, which I have my good days and my bad days with that. But yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I'm surprised. Mass, how are you liking the new campaign, or if you finished it already, how are you liking it? But yeah, as far as the PlayStation 5 Pro, now this is something that I actually really liked, is the design of this PlayStation. Because it went back to the PlayStation 1 era, and I really do like this design. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it sold out right away, which is crazy. Look at this. I still have my PS1, and I have been meaning to pull it back out and try it again, because I haven't tried it in so long. Because I always pull out the PS2 because that's one of my favorite consoles, but I really had to pull back out the PlayStation 1. I guess it's not a lot of games that I really connect to, though. That's the problem. But there's a lot of games for PlayStation 2, like Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, stuff like that. But yeah, some other specs that came with the PlayStation Pro. Let's see. Do they even say it here? No, they don't really list it here. But I just know it comes with a lot of graphics updates, and obviously the processing is better and stuff like that. But I did want to watch IGN's review on the PlayStation Pro, because I had just watched the very beginning of their review, and it already didn't sound great at all. So I was thinking we could all watch it together and see what we think about it. Yeah.
The PlayStation 5 Pro seems like it should be more exciting than it actually is.
And just like that, that's what I'm talking about. It should be more exciting than it actually is. And that reminds me too, I feel just previous Pro versions of the PlayStation, I feel were they always this expensive? This is actually something I probably should look up, but I feel they weren't always that much of a price difference. So I don't know. Matt said the newest campaign for Black Ops 6 is definitely way better than the last one. I think it has a little more thought put into it. The same with zombie storyline. I think they actually took the time to really... And they left there. But no, I agree. I like a lot of the missions and stuff like that. It's way more fun than I thought it was going to be. I don't know why I thought it was just going to be a run and gun type thing. But yeah, they took some time to like really put some detail into it. But I'm far from finished. But when I do finish Black Ops 6, I'm going to do a review on it because I have to, because I'm surprised. But yeah. So yeah, back to the PlayStation Pro. Yeah, this video already didn't start off really good. So let's see what they had to say.
Without question, the most powerful console you can buy right now. And the enhanced games I've been able to play ahead of launch do look great and run much more smoothly than the standard PS5 can handle, thanks to some upgraded hardware and impressive upscaling tech. But it's also completely unsurprising that the faster PS5 is, well, faster, and it's also more expensive. Considering that the original PS5 can still provide enough power to run games competently in 2024, spending $700 means you have to really want the best of the best from your games to make the Pro a worthy investment.
Do you guys think, from what you know so far about the PS5 Pro, do you think $700 is a fair price? And you can answer this after we watch the video, but I'm just curious. Accounting
for its price, you'll be disappointed to find that the PS5 Pro does not come with every possible bell and whistle. It does pack in a standard DualSense, but there's no vertical stand included, and if you're the type who has a library of physical games, be ready to shell out an extra $80 for a Blu-ray disc drive to install yourself. If you feel like Sony is trying to nickel and dime you on top of the $700 price tag, I'm not going to argue against you. Physically, it's a pretty sleek console relative to the enormous launch PS5, and it largely takes after the design principles of the slim model.
That's another really bad thing that has been going on in the industry, just with everything. Like, the first thing that I could think of is the iPhone. Like, when they stopped selling, like, you know, the adapters to plug in your phone, they stopped giving earbuds, which, okay, I guess, like, that's kind of out of times now, but it's like, people are just getting so cheap. I know they stopped giving the stickers now, which I don't really know who really cared for the stickers that much anyway, but it's just so funny. PS5 Pro is glorified PC stuck with Sony hardware and PS locked. It has its ups and downs. Yeah, I don't know if the PS5 Pro is worth the buy. And that's coming from a person who loves PlayStation. I can't justify $700. And then having to buy the disc drive on top of that, to be honest, I can't even see if it also had a disc drive, it being worth $700. Like, that's crazy.
The only major difference is that it's taller when standing vertical, which is accounted for by the fins in the middle that create a cross-section on the console. It helps make room for the more robust internal components, but doesn't add much bulk to the existing design. It's also not noticeably louder than the original PS5, so you don't need to worry about it sounding like a jet engine when your games get intense. As far as thermals go, the PS5 Pro runs roughly the same temperature as the base PS5 under load, hovering around 35 to 40 degrees Celsius from the rear exhaust, based on our thermal imaging tests. It's a bit striking how little has changed from the original PS5 on the spec sheet. The Pro comes with
It's not worth it if you also already have the regular PS5. No, for sure. I could see if you like didn't have a PS5 and you wanted to buy a new one, but yeah, I agree. I don't think it's worth it. Plus, realistically, like, how much longer are we gonna have to wait for the PS6? I don't think we're gonna have to wait that much longer for the PS6. So it's like, I already had the base PS5. I'm not gonna buy a new one just to have it for like at most a couple years. Like, nah, y'all can miss me with that. Like I said, I will admit though that the PS1 version of the PS5 Pro, it looks really good, but I still can't justify the $700. Also, people on Etsy, and this is something I talked about in the podcast that I was on, the people on Etsy have been like remaking that and like selling it for so much money. It's actually crazy, but hey, you didn't hear from me.
With the 2TB NVMe SSD, which is twice as large but the same speed as the original super fast storage drive. That addresses one of the main complaints about the launch PS5, which is that 1TB goes very quickly when you're installing games that take upwards of 100GB at a time. For context, an extra 1TB in the form of an aftermarket SSD would run you around $100 if you want the same storage for a base PS5, which sweetens the deal when looking at the price difference between the PS5 and PS5 Pro. The big upgrade though is in the GPU, rated at 16.7 teraflops, which is a sizable jump on paper from the 10.3 teraflops of the original PS5. Sony says the Pro packs 67% more compute units and onboard memory that's 28% faster, resulting in up to 45% better performance. Without context, those numbers don't really mean much.
This actually brings up a good point. When the PS5 first came out, one of their promises was that it was going to be like no load times. But tell me why there's load times. Why is there load times? It makes me mad.
But the details in my testing prove that they amount to a lot more than empty marketing promises. The important feature that these upgraded specs support specifically is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR. Much like Nvidia's DLSS, this is Sony and AMD's AI-driven upscaling technology that uses machine learning to construct images that can appear with a quality close to full 4K resolution without having to stress the system's hardware to generate that detail through raw processing power. Granted, it won't be exactly the same as native 4K since it's scaling from a lower base resolution, but it doesn't have to since you're not going to be putting it side by side with the real thing, and the vast majority of people aren't going to be able to tell the difference in most cases, especially while they're enjoying the higher frame rates and visual effects this technique allows.
The frame rate in the picture does not look that much different to justify the price, I'm sorry. And really, I do think graphics matter in a game, but it's like, at the end of the day, we're still looking at the overall game. Like, if a game is just a little bit...
keys in creating parity between quality and performance options. It also opens the door for games to explore ray tracing techniques to a greater extent, although mileage will vary based on every game's PS5 Pro specific updates, where developers will choose to prioritize different aspects of their respective games. So, the PS5 Pro is a bit more complex than simply having one uncompromised Pro enhanced mode. The PS5 Pro's tech gives developers room to be experimental in pushing boundaries, especially with ray tracing because it packs enough power to hit higher frame rates without sacrificing as much graphical fidelity. There's still some level of compromise to be made though, so if you were hoping that the Pro would take out all the FOMO stress out of selecting between 60 FPS performance or 30 FPS fidelity modes, well, in some games now there are even more modes to choose from. Alternatively, if you love having that control over how your games run, that's great news. In my experience though, the visual gap between these modes is much smaller than it is on a base PS5, often making the Pro's performance-centric modes the clear choice. Let's start with a marquee PlayStation first-party game, Marvel.
Okay, let me rewind.
Centric modes the clear choice. Let's start with a marquee PlayStation.
There's barely a difference, guys. There's barely a difference. I was just telling someone that I was just playing what the heck is this called? Spider-Man. I was just playing Spider-Man 2, and I was telling my friend how great this game looks, and I'm just playing it on the base mode. There's no difference.
First-party game, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. On PS5 Pro, you get to choose between Fidelity Pro and Performance Pro modes. The latter offers visual quality that's identical to the base PS5's Fidelity mode, with all the...
I almost want to argue that the PS5 one looks a little better.
The latter offers visual quality that's identical to the base PS5's Fidelity mode, with all the original ray tracing features intact while maintaining a smooth 60 FPS. Effectively, the best of both worlds when compared to the PS5's modes. However, with the Fidelity Pro option, Insomniac cranked the knobs even further, putting features like ray-traced ambient occlusion, key light shadows, and further improved reflections on the table. But all those upgrades come at the cost again of being chained down.
Okay, I can see a little bit, like in the background of this, like the buildings do look a little better in this one. And I think that is the main difference. Like the background is a little more like clear. The resolution's a little bit better.
Down to 30 FPS. You can tweak some of these settings to squeeze out a few extra frames, but I wasn't able to reach anything near 60 FPS even when turning everything down a notch. Horizon Forbidden West showcases another interesting implementation of PS5 Pro enhancements. It has 3 options: favor graphics, balance, and favor performance.
Yeah, there's barely
Again,
a difference.
the performance-based mode is the way to go since it hits a stable 60 FPS while in some respects looking even better than the...
And when I say that, I mean to like justify the price. Like there is like a very little difference, but to justify the price difference, I just can't do it.
The base PS5's graphics priority mode. You get finer detail and foliage, better lighting, and a better resolution rendering technique. Especially for a game like Horizon, those extra frames make the gameplay experience so much better, and you can still enjoy the lush vistas with that added clarity. The PS5 Pro's graphics priority option, on the other hand, caps Horizon Forbidden West at 30 FPS, but pushes the boundaries with a higher base resolution. Yet, I don't find the trade-off worth it since it's tough to distinguish with the fantastic Pro Performance mode. The curious part is the balanced option, which goes for 40 FPS, and strikes a middle ground with visual quality, but honestly, it's not worth the 30% cut in frame rate for marginal visual gains. The Last of Us Part 2
Hey Malia. Carl Johnson said, meanwhile, the PS5 Pro players are playing on this 32-inch monitor when they got 11 years ago on Black Friday, right? That small detail could have been added to the right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it makes no sense. I mean, hardware, like, is a thing, but it's like, yeah, they could have originally added it. And that's, I keep comparing it to iPhone. Like, how iPhone waits to put out, like, the new stuff they have because they have to show that, like, every, like, new phone has something new. Like, with the iPhone 16 Pro, like, all they did was add that little stupid button to the side to take the pictures. Like, I don't need that. Like, for real, the phone isn't really that different, you know?
Remastered takes a different angle as well. It oddly retains the same exact two options available from the base PS5, graphics or performance priority. But there's a new Pro option that uses PSSR to take 1440p resolution to output 4K while retaining other visual qualities of the PS5's graphics mode and still hitting a consistent 60 FPS. It was already a visually impressive remaster on PS5, but the boost in performance while having all of its graphical details sing is nice. Of all the games that have gotten PS5 Pro updates ahead of launch, Alan Wake 2 is certainly the most interesting one. Remedy decided to go all in on ray tracing with its graphics mode.
Great game, by the way.
Absolutely stunning, with robust reflections and lighting giving its world a much more striking look, especially in the way that feeds into its atmosphere. The Pro enhancements stretch the limits of what PSSR is capable of, however. In graphics mode, it uses a base resolution of 1224p and runs at 30 FPS to make room for all those sweet ray tracing techniques. You won't get those big ray traced features in performance mode, but it will target 60 FPS with an image quality akin to the graphics mode on the base PS5. It has to use a fairly low base resolution of 864p to get there though. It's still a great looking game in this mode, although it's definitely a blurrier image. Regardless, I find Alan Wake 2 shows a noticeable improvement over what you get from the base PS5, even if there are still compromises to be made. Now, when there's a new powerful console, there's always a racing game to flex the hardware. Taking speedy race cars down the track in F124 provides a pretty clear example of what ray tracing can do. When looking at the Pro Enhanced Quality mode and the base PS5's Quality mode, it's easy to pick up on the improvements in reflections and lighting, especially on rain-soaked tracks, and the Pro is able to do this by using PSSR to still target 60 FPS. Dragon's Dogma 2 is an example of where the PS5 Pro can bring a game out of the depths of weak technical performance to a much more playable state. By using PSSR, the Pro is able to put out noticeably higher and more consistent frame rates than the base console can, whether
You know, okay, and that's another point that I also want to mention. Why are they, like, working so hard to remaster these new games that already look great? I always go back to The Last of Us Part 2. Like, that game already came out, like, beautifully, and they just remade it. What they need to be doing is remastering games that came out, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago. Like, games that came out in the 2000s. Like, that's what we want to see.
You choose to prioritize performance or graphics, which enables ray tracing too. Though it's not without noticeable drops in busy areas. It's a powerful console, but it's not magic. On the other hand, something like Final Fantasy XVI is an example of how a game without Pro enhancements, or at least an uncapped frame rate option to just let the extra power work, isn't going to benefit in a tangible way without an update, since it's bound by the limitations that were built for its graphics modes. It's still capped at 30 FPS when prioritizing graphics, while the performance mode still targets 60 FPS with lesser visual quality. Now, that's a lot of technical information, but despite all those enhancements, the question still stands: is it actually worth buying a PS5 Pro? Frustratingly, the answer is always going to be, it depends on you. As someone who used to be a sucker for upgrading to new generations,
Let me know in the chat if you guys would buy the PS5 Pro.
of high-end graphics cards to push my PC to its limits, the PS5 Pro scratches that old itch because I do notice and appreciate the differences it provides. The visual quality that the Pro Enhanced Performance modes have thus far look fantastic, and it's all the more enticing because hitting 60 FPS gives a smooth gameplay experience that's tough to come back from. I've also found performance modes on the base PS5 to be lackluster in some cases, and since the Pro has shown the potential in addressing that shortcoming, I find that the new console can be a worthy investment. There are a few games out there now that make the Pro a more enticing prospect. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's performance mode on base PS5 feels too compromising to me, with in-engine cutscenes and close-ups on characters during pivotal moments looking muddled at 60 FPS. Thus, I bit the bullet and managed with 30 FPS gameplay so that I could get the visual experience that uplifted its storytelling qualities. It worked well enough for that sort of game, but I'd much rather have been playing at 60 FPS. With the Pro Enhancement patch, Rebirth has a new Versatility mode that merges both the high-quality graphics setting with 60 FPS performance into a singular mode, so there's no choice paralysis, and it delivers the exact type of experience I want.
Faces looked a little clearer.
Wanted. That said, I know and can fully understand people who don't care quite as much about having state-of-the-art systems to play their favorite games, so long as they meet a reasonable balance between performance and fidelity, which the original PS5 only rarely has a problem pulling off with existing games. And for a lot of people, playing at 30 FPS isn't necessarily a deal breaker, and if you're happy with that level of performance, you might as well be happier with a few $100s still in your bank account. And the Pro is a hard sell for anybody who expects a whole new experience when they unbox a brand new console. The PS5 Pro doesn't fundamentally transform how games are played, it just makes them look prettier and run smoother. And if you're happy with how your games look and play on a base PS5, then it's absolutely not worth paying a premium to upgrade.
It's so funny because they're like saying that you shouldn't buy it without saying it for real.
Considering that the PS5 generation has largely been described as, what if the PS4 was faster? It's a little difficult to get all that excited about a console that promises to be a faster PS5. The PS5 Pro does deliver on that for sure, and if you find the standard PS5 leaving more to be desired from a technical perspective, it's an intriguing prospect. Running updated games in the new performance modes gives you essentially the old fidelity modes, now targeting 60 FPS, sometimes with extra improvements. Sony's AI-powered upscaling tech is certainly impressive when playing games that have been updated for it, giving console players the same type of image quality and frame rate improvements that Nvidia's DLSS has delivered on the PC side in recent years. You're not entirely free from compromises because you often still have to choose between that new standard and even better looking fidelity modes at 30 FPS, though I found going with performance an easier choice this time around. At $700, it's not cheap, so you have to really desire that visual upgrade knowing that it doesn't transform the gameplay experience at a fundamental level. And to be fair, Sony never said it would. So as it stands, the PS5 Pro isn't essential, but it is certainly nice to have.
If you're rich.
For more on the PS5 Pro, be sure to check out our unboxing video and look forward to our detailed performance breakdowns. You can also read my full written PS5 Pro review on IG.
Yeah, I feel like that whole video was them saying that you shouldn't get it without them saying it for real. I mean, I do get that they have to rate it as a whole. It's not a comparison video, you know. But if you have the PlayStation 5 already, there's no need to go to the PlayStation 5 Pro. But that's just my opinion. And two, like, I don't know really anybody who is like buying each console like back to back, like the PS4, then the PS4 Slim, then the PS4 Pro, and then the PS5, and then the PS4 or PS5 Pro. Like, I don't know anybody doing that. And so, you know, you guys do what you want, but yeah, I'm curious to see what the comments say. Get a good OLED TV instead. People underestimate the difference in a TV can make. Yeah, definitely. I don't care anymore. They talk about diminishing returns. I'm fine with my PS5. Someone said it's $920 for the PS5 Pro in Denmark. That's crazy. Problems, very expensive. No disk drive, which is a huge one for me because, as you know, price. Biggest cash grab I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in Sony, but hey, what can you do? All right, well, on to the next topic. Sony commits to releasing major single player games every year from 2025 and onwards. So I'm really curious what you guys have to say about this because recently it seems like they haven't been really releasing games, especially this year. There's been a lot of other studios releasing pretty big games and stuff like that. So let's see what IGN has to say. So Sony's high-profile live service struggles has seen the cancellation of Naughty Dog's The Last of Us multiplayer game, and more recently the disastrous release and then unrelease of Concord, which we're gonna talk a little bit about later, actually. But The Last of Us multiplayer game, like a lot of people were looking forward to that game, so I'm surprised that they canceled. But hey, I feel like a lot of gaming stuff has kind of been going downhill, so. Yeah, but amid the turmoil, Sony has reaffirmed its commitment to major single-player games. So they confirmed basically that it's not going to be really any big games coming out throughout this year, which we pretty much already know that. But we do have some pretty big games coming out as of next year. With Sucker Punch's Ghost of Yotai, which I am really excited about because I really love Ghost of Tsushima, and I'm so excited for what this next game has to tell because the previous game was just such a beautiful game. Like, it was so fun. I loved the combat. It was so seamless and stuff like that. And that was on PS4, so I can only imagine what it's going to be like on PS5. I'm really excited to see. But they don't have a confirmed release date for this game coming up, but they do know it's going to be sometime in 2025, along with other big games. If you know, you know, like GTA 6, which I'm really excited about too. I know everybody's excited for that game. But this is some screenshots of Ghost of Yotai, so it does look really similar to Tsushima. Look at that. And this isn't even like on the PS5, so I'm sure it's just gonna look way better on console. Those standoffs were really fun as well. Let me know if you guys have ever played Ghost of Tsushima. It was such a fun game. Oh, look at that. I don't remember it being a lot of like scenic nighttime stuff in the last game. So I don't know if that's going to be like a new thing in this new game. I do remember something similar to this. Yeah, looks great. So I guess another thing that they are promising is Death Stranding 2. Now, I've never played Death Stranding. Like, well, I take that back. I did play Death Stranding, but to be honest, like, I couldn't really get into it. But if you guys played it, let me know, because, I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. I think it was just the gameplay. I didn't care for it that much. But yeah, that's supposed to be coming out next year. And apparently they have 2 unannounced games that will also be coming. Wolverine is a really big game that I'm actually really excited to play because it's coming from Insomniac Games, which also made Marvel Spider-Man 2. And if you know anything about that game, it's really fun. It's a really fun game. So I'm looking forward to that. They always say that they have something cooking for God of War. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I was actually really surprised when they came out with, what was the DLC? Valhalla. That was a great DLC. I loved it. Because if you don't know by now, I love Kratos' like whole story, even before the 2018 one. And if you don't know his whole story and you're a fan of that game, highly, highly, highly recommend at least go like watch the stories from the past games. It will all make sense, like all of it. So another Horizon, which I feel like they actually put out a lot of Horizon games. But they say that that's pretty far into time. We don't know when that's going to come out. And then also, I heard that Naughty Dog is going to be coming out with a new single player game. So I'm excited to see how that goes because really, well, I know a good amount of Naughty Dog games, but the only one that's been really big so far, or recently, I should say, is The Last of Us. But we all know, like, they made Uncharted. They made one of my favorite games. Well, the Uncharted games, and also Jack and Dexter are two of my favorite games. So everything they come out with has been gold. So I'm very curious to see what a new single player IP will look like from them. Days Gone, hit and miss for a lot of people. I tried playing it. I couldn't get into it, but apparently that's also something that they're going to be working on. Little Big Planet, Housemarque, Fire Spirit. I think these are all, like, I've never heard of them. If you guys have, let me know in the chat. Gran Turismo 7, which is pretty popular. And they're also looking on Astrobot. Oh yeah, they did release Astrobot this year. Astrobot was a pretty big hit because a lot of people thought it was just like a kid's game and stuff like that, but it actually did pretty well, surprisingly. It's really fun. I think it's because they incorporated like so many like PlayStation characters and stuff into the game. So I think they did a really good thing with that. But yeah, so they talk a little bit about the PS6, how that's a little farther down the line. But it says, meanwhile, Sony continues to deal with external developers that see single-player games launch first on PS5. For example, it partnered with Square Enix for Final Fantasy VII Remake, 16 and 7 Rebirth, Shift Up for Stellar Blade, Game Science for Record-Breaking Black Myth Wukong, Team Ninja's Rise of the Ronin, and Bloopers Silent Hill 2 Remake. That's another big thing that Sony has going for them, surprisingly, is that they do get a lot of like external people to give them the games first. So they do get like a big up on that. The PS5 Pro is setting a new price standard, so we won't be shocked when the PS5... That's a good point. I kind of think that as well. And I'm a little nervous for that, but hey, blame it on inflation, I guess. I don't know. You know, it's kind of sad, but what can we do? You know, people are gonna pay it, especially if it is the same price as like the PS6. But I think I also heard like when the PS5 or no, the PS3 released their Pro, I heard that also was like really expensive. I'll have to look into that, but I heard that theirs was really expensive, and then the PS4 came out like not as expensive. But I kind of think that same way, but I'm crossing my fingers that that's not going to be true. I really hope not, because we don't have $1,000 to spend, guys. We don't, especially because they're making you buy all this extra stuff. Like, ugh, it's so annoying. But yeah, what do you guys think of how like PlayStation promises that they're going to be releasing new games every year? I mean, we'd love to see it, right? But are they going to be able to keep up on that promise? And they promise like major games. So it's one thing to just release like third-party games, but major like PlayStation hit games. I'm curious to see how that looks. But yeah, as for the next story, we have Firewalk Studios officially closing following Concord's disastrous release and subsequent shutdown. Very, very sad to hear that people have lost their jobs. That's been happening a lot in the game industry. Sony is shuttering Firewalk Studios in the wake of its disastrous release of Concord, the PS5 shooter that lasted less than 2 weeks after being shuttered. The news was first reported by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier. It's quite sad, guys. Quite sad. I know a lot of people didn't like Concord, but I don't know. I think the biggest thing was that it was pay to play, because a lot of first person shooters right now are free to play. So the fact that they made everybody pay just turned everybody off. Fireworks Studios closure follows the reported departure of director Ryan Ellis, who stepped down after Concord was taken offline. Sony Interactive Entertainment publicly posted the internal email from Studio Business Group CEO Herman Hulse with a statement on the closure, which you can read below. Hulse wrote that SIE had spent considerable time these past few months exploring all of our options, but ultimately decided to sunset the studio, which had acquired in April 2023. That wasn't even that long ago. The email also announces SIE's decision to close Neon Koi, a German studio working on a mobile action game. And if you guys didn't know, I just put out a video talking about mobile games. So I wonder if it was going to be like something good, because we really need like better mobile games. They're so bad nowadays. So this states, Dear team, today I went to share some important updates from Sony Interactive Entertainment Studio Business Group. We constantly evaluate our games portfolio and statuses of our projects to ensure we are meeting near and long-term business priorities. As part of our ongoing efforts to strengthen SIE's studio business, we have had to make a difficult decision relating to two of our studios, Neon Koi and Fireworks Studios. And we all know what that is. We need to be strategic, though, in bringing our games to new platforms and recognizing when our games fall short of meeting players' expectations, and that's to say the least. While mobile games remain a priority, growth area for studio business, we are very early stage of our mobile efforts. To achieve success in this area, we need to concentrate on titles that are in line with PlayStation Studios' pedigree and have the potential to reach more players globally. PlayStation needs to stick to what they're good at. That's the main problem, and we will continue reading this, but like, why are they trying to like dip in a lane that's not theirs? What they're good at is narrative. PS5 Pro is not doomed. It is not. Well, yeah, some people are gonna buy it. Some people are, but most people aren't. That's just facts. That's just facts. But alright. With this reapproach, Neon Koi will close and its mobile game will not be moving forward, which I don't even know anything about their mobile game, so I mean, it's still kind of sad to see, but I guess we didn't really have like an attachment to it. I want to express my gratitude to everyone at Neon Koi. Regarding Firewalk Studios, as announced in early September as an important update on Concord, certain aspects of Concord were exponential, but others did not land with enough players. As a result, we took the game offline. We have spent considerable time these past few months exploring all of our options. So I'm wondering if they even like considered making it free to play to like try and get like something out of it, because like, believe it or not, like the game wasn't terrible. I mean, it was kind of like basic, but I feel like they could have gotten like something out of it, especially if it was free. Like a lot of people would have tried it if it was free. After much thought, we have determined the best path is permanently shutting the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of the Firewalks for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication. The PvP first-person shooter genre is a competitive space. That is true. That's what I was just talking about. That's continuing evolving. And unfortunately, we did not hit our targets with this title. We will take the lesson learned from Concord and continue to advance our live service capabilities to deliver further growth in this area. There's only really like a couple like big like first-person shooter games that I could think of that are pay to play and are still doing like fairly successful. And the biggest one, Call of Duty, like you had to pay for that, but the thing is now Xbox can get that, or Xbox players can get that on Game Pass. So it's not like an extra cost to them, which is really good. People on PS5 though had to pay. Another one that I really like too is Rainbow Six Siege, even though I know that was so like almost 10 years ago, I still play it a lot. And then they're basically talking about it's not really a decision that they like to make, which is understandable. I'm a big believer in the benefits of embracing creative experimentation and developing a new IP. However, growing through sustainable financials, especially in a challenging economic environment, is critical. While today is very difficult, there is so much to look forward to in months ahead from the studio business group and our teams. I remain confident that we are building a resilient and compatible organization driven by creating unforgettable entertainment experiences for our player. Thank you for your continued support. And I respect him for coming to the audience and addressing that, even though I'm not sure if that's what people wanted, because a lot of people really hated Concord. But I don't know. The PvP first person shooter genre is a competitive space. Yes. So yeah. But yeah, I don't know. What did you guys like Concord? I don't know. I mean, from what I've seen of it, like I said, the gameplay wasn't terrible, but like I said, it was a little bit lackluster. I kind of wish that they were a little better with like designing the characters and stuff like that. The gameplay didn't seem terrible, but it's just stuff we've seen before. I think they just tried to like dip in a lane that they weren't very used to like being in. But like I said, like PlayStation is best known for their narrative driven games. So it's like, I don't know, should they stick to that or should they continue to try new things? I think they just saw that like, like Fortnite and stuff like that, they're getting like so much money, with this free to play game or first person shooter game, live service game, and they just wanted a taste of that, especially considering they didn't have a lot of like main games for their studio coming out this year. So kind of sucks, but I don't know. What do you expect? What do you expect? They need to stick what they're good at. I don't know. But yeah, the last thing that I did want to discuss is, can't believe Microsoft offers Black Ops 6 for free with their Xbox membership. If only Sony had done that when they had the exclusive. 100%. 100%. And that's something that a lot of people don't like to admit, is when Xbox does something right. We have to say it. I'm sorry. But I will give Xbox their props for that, because I do think that that's a very, very good decision that they have made with that. But yeah. On to the last story. I kind of wanted to touch a little bit on Mario and Luigi Brothership, even though I don't really talk about Nintendo a lot. But I kind of wanted to shout this out because I really love the like new art style and stuff like that, and I kind of just wanted to watch the trailer with you guys really quick to see what you guys think and how are you liking all these new Mario games that's coming out.
Luigi? Huh? Luigi! Yeah.
I don't know if they've made a game in this art style before. I don't know, it just captivated me. The gameplay is so unique. Who's your guys' favorite Mario characters? Mine is Luigi. I love Luigi's Mansion. I'm pretty sure I've said that before, but Luigi's Mansion is always like my favorite in the Nintendo games. So I did see a little bit of gameplay for it, and it's really good. I mean, I don't know if it's my cup of tea, but I was like so interested in what they had come up with. But yeah, this last weekend, I was able to go to a gaming convention in Ohio by the name of Torg, and that was really fun. I got to pick up, a lot of cool things that I'll be happy to share if you guys want to see in maybe like the next live stream. I do plan on doing these weekly at 12 if you guys want to come back to check it out. This week I'll also be posting a Ghost of Yotai like breakdown on what we know so far. So be on the lookout for that, and let me know if you guys have any video ideas that you guys would want to see with any game news or any reviews or anything like that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a good week, and see you guys next week because I'll be back. Bye everyone.